It's time for another Build More Than Just a Body client spotlight. Today I'm with Sabrina Cuevas, who I am just so happy to be seeing in front of me and spending this time with because she's got a really great story. And we've been working together for a long time now, and it's been awesome, the evolution of the work that we've been doing. So before we get into some of that background story, I'd like to just hear what building more than just a body means to you.
Yeah, so it means so much more and has just really changed over the years. I started out with you after my first year of bodybuilding, so I was really focused on the physical aspect, but I didn't realize how much I would be challenged mentally, emotionally in the journey. And it wasn't until I realized that I really needed to do the work and invest the time into kind of addressing some of those emotional issues, some of those mindset, and some of the ways that I was thinking that really made a difference to my physique. And now I can see a completely different transformation in that by working on the emotional, the mindset, it just manifests to a better physique. So to me, that's what it means to me is that working on the inner, and then later on you could see it revealed into the full package.
Absolutely. I think that's been a missing piece so long for so many people too, or they don't really know like where to start with it, or admitting that they need support mentally can be challenging. But like you said, it ends up reflecting in your future preps and improvement seasons. So what types of maybe habits or changes have you made because of whether it's the work we do or just that philosophy in general? What changes have you made that have impacted you physically?
So many tools. So right now I am just starting my prep. So this will be my third prep and it's night and day. And I even remember like talking to you and said like, I feel like when people say this has been the easiest prep, like I've never been able to put my mind around that. But for the first time, I feel like, wow, why is this so easy? And so I just reflect back to some of the tools. So basically, like things like finding out like where my areas of improvement and then building an activity around that. So like for example, like in the afternoon, that would be my time when I would get home from work in the afternoon that I would just go to the kitchen and do the things that weren't aligned with my goals. And so now I have my food prepared. And then if I need to, I'll go into the other room. I'll go outside and eat. So that's a tool. Just really setting down my goals. Just a lot of journaling, the meditation, all those things. Sometimes I'll play music or I'll go for a walk if it's not like, oh, and then the meal times. There's just like so many tools. Like I could literally go on and on and on about all the things that I have put in place. But the tools are one thing, but I think it's the mindset, the emotional, the spiritual work that allow the tools to be seamless and part of my pretty much my routine and to set me up to where like I'm not even struggling. Like before I would like have all these thoughts, obsess about like, oh, I can't have this, I want to eat this, and I just don't. Now it does come, but I recognize it and I'm like, okay, let's move on, let's think about something else, let's use a tool, let's listen to a podcast, let's do something else.
Yes, that's exactly what I was just thinking too, is like you've prepared yourself now to face those things when they come up versus in the past or other competitors who maybe haven't done this. What happens is they fall into the same trap as before. And every season will teach us something new, but because you equipped yourself to deal with it and you're being proactive with using those tools and you use them for so long that they became more automatic, those problems won't feel as intense. It's like you've broken down the wall before, you can do it again and it's not going to feel as difficult. So that's awesome that you're having such a positive experience even still, and you feel prepared for when those things come up because they inevitably will. And I know that you mentioned that it goes much further than even just using the tools, which is also a key element. Like we have to actually empower ourselves to use them. And you've shared with me in the past, like some really deep personal experiences that have led you to prioritize this. So could you maybe share with people watching or listening, like part of your story?
Yeah, for sure. And the last piece that I wanted to add to that other piece is that even though I'm on prep, when I was off prep and or off season, I was practicing a lot of these things. So like I was
Exactly.
practicing, and I feel like that's an opportunity so that when you are faced with that situation, when you're faced with that social event, when you're faced with that emotional trigger, like for me, it was like, you know, when I would have issues with my children or whatever, I'm prepared because I practiced it and I know what to do. So that was one other piece. But as far as like what brought me here, so you know, I've shared with you that I have, or I used to struggle with the eating disorder for almost 30 years.
Mhm.
And really, when I reached out to you, I really thought I was just far gone. And I really thank my journey with bodybuilding because it made me address the issues that I had. Because I knew at the time that I wanted to compete, I wanted to continue in bodybuilding, but you can't and be symptomatic in your eating disorder and do bodybuilding. Like you have to choose. Like, I mean, you don't have to, that's not kind of weird, but you can't do that with bodybuilding. And
Yeah.
so that was the motivation for me to be like, okay, I gotta fix this. I gotta do what I do and just no turning back. So thank God I found you. Like literally I was my first year of competing, just I really had like kind of a downward spiral where I got really scared of like how symptomatic I was in my eating disorder. And another piece that I think is really important to share is that what made it even more real for me is that I had lost my best friend to anorexia. So the consequence of not being in treatment was even more profound for me and my life experience. So that was an added piece to it. But you know, at the time when I reached out to you, I had reached out to actually inpatient. So I have been in inpatient treatment in the past
Mhm.
for my eating disorder as well as outpatient treatment. And so I've had like ups and downs with it throughout the years. And so I had reached out to outpatient or inpatient again, and it was like this period of time where they offered virtual like intake, but because of where I was with my symptoms, they said that I didn't qualify for that, and that I would have to go inpatient like in the facility, and then I would have to stop like bodybuilding completely, like working out, like whatever. And I was like, you know what, that just doesn't work out for my for what I can commit to in my life. And then I reached out to another person who did food relationship things, and he was just basically like, I don't want to touch you. Like, I felt like I was too far gone. And I can't
Oh,
remember how I like found out about you, but I was like, you know what? What's gonna hurt? Like intake. And like for the first time, like you made me feel like there wasn't something wrong with me.
mm.
And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not as bad as I think. And so that's why it's important for me to share my story as far as where I've come and how in depth my eating disorder journey was, so that other people can know that you aren't you aren't too far gone. You are deserving for help. You can put in the time and just do the work. And I think that's one of the pieces of the feedback that you would always give me, that you were impressed of how much I just really embraced and just like I was all in with the work. And then it's paid off to where now I don't identify myself with that person that I used to say I have an eating disorder. Now I don't. I don't identify myself with that whatsoever, which I'm so happy to be able to say that, because I would have never ever in my million years and my best wish of my birthday would ever have thought that I could be a normal, whatever that may be, person when it comes to like food, my body, my mindset. And I'm just so grateful. And so I've just felt super compelled that after 3 years of working with you, that this is my time to share, because you know, it might touch somebody to know that they can also get better.
Your story is really beautiful and always so amazing. And I appreciate you saying that too, because it reminds me of why I do what I do. Every time that I connect with my clients, it's stories like this that keep me going, honestly, because I've had so many people tell me that they identify with their disorder, eating disorder, anxiety, depression, whatever it might be. And my philosophy has always been that you're not those things. You're experiencing them, but you're not those things. And unfortunately, my problem with traditional treatment is exactly what you described. It's like, well, you have to shut down everything that you love in your life and just focus on this, and it's going to become your identity and consume you. And while I do believe treatment can be beneficial for some, and it depends on the timing of your life and what you can invest into, right? It's also important to consider other options. And I think that you empowering yourself to be open to all your options allowed you to go down the path that felt best for you. And it's even in literature, when we pursue a path that we believe is going to be better for us, it will be better for us. So even if you had gone with that bit of resistance, it's always more difficult, especially because it was at your own will, not against your will. So you were actually choosing the treatment, and therefore, like, by choosing the path of treatment that was going to be best for you, it was more successful. And that is why I always would admire your incredible work ethic, your commitment every single time we had calls, every action step between calls, like the emails, like it was amazing. And your check-ins still to this day are extensive and give me so much insight. And I think it's awesome because it shows your reflection, your continuous commitment to yourself. And you've never lost sight of that deep why and that pain as well, I believe, from losing your friend, that it's put things in perspective. And many people don't realize that anorexia nervosa is like the #1 deadly mental health disorder. And it's a hard topic. And I would encourage anyone, if you are struggling with food relationship in any sense, or maybe you have some of those symptoms or you're not sure what to do, Sabrina's leading by example. Like, she got help, she did what she needed to do. She's not a lost cause despite where she was. And that's why I admire you sharing that part of your story, because you felt so lost and like you were helpless. You even had someone tell you they didn't want to help you. So you didn't give up on yourself, and it obviously made a difference.
Yeah. I can't, I mean, I can never thank you enough. I mean, the program is amazing, and I know it's, about the personal story and the journey, but yeah, um, it's amazing. And, I'm looking forward to bringing, achieving my goals on stage this year. And, I have the right mindset to get me there. So,
Yes. And you know what? Actually, that brings up an interesting point. The thing that's changed is your mentality. The approach has been very similar in your like actual approach to the stage and your nutrition, your training. So this is a good example again of like, by doing the mental work, the physical demands become easier rather than feeling like really hard or like you're craving things all the time. You're able to control what's happening here, ground your spirit, ground your soul. You've identified potential risks and sabotages in your journey, like coming home in the afternoon or facing a challenge, and you have the tools to utilize, which is great. And I know there's people who are probably watching this feeling like you felt back in 3 years ago, and they're probably thinking like, well, what if I can't ever get past it? What if I can't ever compete again? What if I end up trying and I fail? What would you tell that person who's feeling all that doubt?
yeah, so you just reach out for help again. Like, if there was something that worked, which this program, for example, worked for me. So when I felt like I was slipping, and I recognized right away, like, the slippery slope, and I reached out to you immediately, and to get back in with some of the routine of just the reflection and what I was struggling with, and what we could do to, what tools we could put in place to, help me in that process. And then, even though I'm fine right now, I did have a little bit of a period where I slipped again, and I reached out to you, but I feel fine. But I just like to know, like, I have you there just in case, because it, it's just different with you, because, like, they don't understand what you're going through. They don't understand, like, especially with bodybuilding, like, people don't understand the bodybuilding. People don't understand the mental issues, the anxieties, the body image, the eating disorder stuff, spectrum, and you understand all of it. So it's nice to just have you like there, like if I need to, like if I have a issue. But so far things have been good, but I just like to know that you know, I have you right there.
I love that.
You're just my little crutch for right now. One day you'll be like, you can fly away, but and I probably honestly am there, but I just like to have this security. So my point is you know yourself, you recognize when you are struggling and reach out to what worked in the past and just
Yes.
immerse yourself to the work.
That's a really great point. Like it doesn't have to it like we've worked together for a long time, but there's been bouts where you've gone and flown on your own and then something comes up and then we get back into it. And I kind of look at it, actually, I learned this in my counseling program. They were like, when you're making good progress with a client, obviously you want them to have moments where they're doing their own thing. Like that's part of the autonomy. But you look at it like a doctor's appointment almost. Like if you have a consistent appointment with something to check up on it, make sure it's okay, that's positive for your life. So our mental health should be treated very similarly. Maybe you go to the dentist every 6 months, maybe you see your doctor at least for your well woman check every year. And if you have a history of things, you might be going for other checkups, but we have to prioritize this, just like you check in with your coach every week, or you're doing your own check-in photos and you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're doing your posing. Like we need to check in with our mental too. And you've done that for yourself, which is awesome. And we've gone into lots of different areas of exploration, which has been really cool. And you said it really well too. Not everyone really understands the bodybuilding side of things. It's like, just quit competing, let it go. Or family members, friends can be like questioning and doubting this journey, or kind of waving like, hey, you should do this instead. And it can be hard to even just communicate our needs. And having someone to lean on, I think, through those difficulties is really great.
Yeah, and then just one other thing too is just you know, bring it into the light. Like I spent so many of my years like secretively hiding this battle, this struggle that I was going through. And I remember I told one of my friends, the first person that I felt like I could trust. And, you know, I didn't want to tell people because I didn't want them to think I was weak or like whatever. And she told me, I'll never forget, she told me, you are so strong. I can't believe you were going through all of that and just going about your life. And like, I had no idea. And
Mhm.
so when I was worried about being judged for being weak, she actually saw me as being strong. And so the more and more and more that I bring this into the light, like this is a great example of me like removing myself from the dark, like my name is Sabrina, this is my story, you know. I think just allows me to heal and recover as part of my recovery that much more.
So true. I was really hoping you would bring that up, how you had dealt with it for so long by yourself and you didn't want people to know about it. And then you freed yourself actually by sharing it. Like it's really amazing the cages we lock ourselves into out of fear of judgment. And it makes sense. It's just us trying to protect our identity. And it's really great that you did it with someone you felt comfortable sharing it with, and they validated your experiences and they've supported you, because otherwise we almost feel like we have to shut down more. Like, oh, great, I am weak. Because if you had shared that with the wrong person or just someone random who didn't really know you, it could have been a different experience. So you came into the light, you brought it into light in a very smart and considerate way for what you needed. And I think that was like the spiritual side of things coming in and encouraging you and saying like, it is safe to do this, and it's freeing to do that.
Yes.
It's amazing. I'm really proud of you and all the work that you've done.
Thank you. Yeah, it feels great to be free. Like
Oh,
just you're a prisoner in your own mind or whatever, and just freedom is, it feels great.
yes, especially when you were a prisoner for so long. When you feel liberated, you feel it.
Yeah.
What is the difference for you that you notice actually? I'd love to hear that. Like, when you were trapped and feeling in the dark versus like now, what's the main difference?
I mean, I guess it's just a sense of like this depression or this kind of cloud just looming over you. And then it sucks to feel like there's something that has control over you that like you don't have control because you don't want to do it. The core of your being does not want to engage in that that sabotaging activity, and then you don't know like if you're going to have a heart attack or something bad is going to happen, but even with that you can't stop. And it's just freeing to know that you are making the decisions that serve you and that are in line with what you want out of your life. And it's freeing in that you can enjoy your social situations, your family, your experience, because you're not so fixated on like, okay, I can't eat that, I can't do this, I can't do that, you know, how am I going to get rid of this food that I just ate, like XYZ AB, like all these things, all these thoughts. But when those thoughts go away, then it's like, how can I be more present for my family? And you just get to be you. Yeah. And so then now it's like in the struggle of like, not the struggle, but just discovering more about who I am, because now I have all this space to do that. So, and what I want, you know, and things like that.
That's such a beautiful place to be. It's like a regeneration. Like I freed myself from something that didn't allow me to be me. And in that time frame, maybe I didn't know who I was. And now I'm free to figure that out. And that's amazing. And so much of what you just described, I could list off a million people who could probably relate, not just from our community, but in general. I can relate incredibly much. Like I was exactly in that position. Like I need to hide this and I can't eat this until everyone's out of the house or it's like really late at night and no one can see me. And then I would literally take foods from like the extra food cabinet in the garage because then no one would notice it immediately. It'd be like, oh, did we ever buy extra? I don't know. But really I had like binged on it or I ate it slowly from the garage and hiding those things and then going to the social events and parties and holidays. It just was always consumed by food and body image and how everything felt. Like how did my clothing, I was not who I wanted to be because of that cloud. Exactly like as you described it. It's like this cloud, something's limiting you. And I love how you described that freedom, like the clouds lifted and now you're pursuing more of who you are. You're learning more about who you are because you have the space to do that, which is beautiful. And I'm so glad that you shared your story and you came out even more about it because I know it's going to empower so many other people to take action.
I hope so.
It will. And if you guys are watching this and you are inspired, definitely let Sabrina know if you can find her and connect with her. Maybe do you want me to share how they can connect with you? Do you want to put your Instagram out there or Facebook?
Sure. I mean, it's nothing exciting, but I'm embarrassed. You could just post it.
Okay. I was like, you don't have to. So after
Yeah,
this
you
talk,
could just put it in the comments. I feel
okay,
like
I'll do
a
that.
weirdo. You could find me at.
You're so funny. You're too
Okay.
cute. Okay, well, I'll put that in the show notes. And if you guys are wondering like what you might be needing right now or what would be a good next step, I would recommend either starting with my free food relationship coaching series. That's www.celestial.fit/free series. Or you can start with the actual program, which is the one that we started with, which is celestial.fit/food freedom. So if you guys are looking for that support, I'll put those links in the description and the show notes as well. But thank you guys for tuning in and listening to Sabrina's story and showing support. And Sabrina, thanks for sharing.
You, Celeste, you're the best.